Now, once you finish the basic layering, you're going to move on to the burnishing. And so burnishing looks a little bit different. You'll notice that in burnishing, you're not going to let any paper show. Make sure that you've written your notes from the video on your sketchbook so that you have these things to keep track of what they are. Keep in mind, even if you burnish, you can still erase it to get it to look good. If your colors were not quite right in the first one and you want to practice some different colors, you can try another scale again to see if it helps you. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the sphere. So I've already done the first layer. So you'll notice the first layer of this is done exactly how we did for basic layering. You use light to medium pressure, you blend all of the colors together that you have decided to use for your skin tone. Keep in mind, once again, you're not just using a light and you're not just using a dark, you're using multiple pencils to achieve this. The difference with this burnishing is that we're going to be building it up. And as we start with the first layer is light pressure, each layer gets heavier to the point where we press kind of hard at the very end. But we never press hard in a way that we're going to break the lead or hurt our hand. We're just going to be using some heavier pressure. This time I'm also going to be using some white. So you start like we did before with the layering, get your basic tones in. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go in with my values. I'm going to work from light to dark one more time, but this time I'm going to be pressing with medium pressure. So with this, I'm going to keep nice sharp point. If I don't use a sharpened pencil, if I use the edge of the pencil, I'm not going to cover up the tooth of the paper. When you're doing burnishing, you're going to find that you're not going to be able to see the paper coming through the sphere anymore. So I'm going to go in here and use light to medium pressure, blending the values. Once again, I want to shade with the contours. If I press too heavy, I'm going to see lines, and you don't see lines on your skin unless it's in a wrinkle. Okay. So as it needs to get darker, I'm going to use less pressure and go and use the next color. So you can see that it's going in there a little bit more heavy, but I'm not pressing hard yet. I'm just building it up gradually. And I feel like it got a little too orange over here, so I'm going to go back in with my white and layer some more white. Now, instead of using light pressure, I'm going to have to go in even heavier in order to get it, because that tooth is pretty much gone now from the paper. So it's a lot of going back and forth between your colors. That's why it's important to know what colors you're going to use so that you don't accidentally pull up the wrong color. So I'm going in with a little heavier pressure, like medium pressure here. Now I'm working on this other side. Going over the shadow. Keeping that reflected light a little bit lighter. It should look like a smooth sort of marble. Now once again, depending on your image, you can decide how dark that shadow is going to be. So for that violet, I'm not pressing super heavy. I'm going to burnish it in. I'm going to press harder with the color that's a little bit lighter. I tend to smudge with the lighter of the two colors. It tends to make it look much more realistic and much more smooth. burnishing is a technique that we use to make something look shiny. So with burnishing, we normally give it some pressure in order for it to look reflective and shiny. So this will look really good for those eyeballs and irises and for really smooth sort of skin and details. So you're starting to see the difference between seeing the texture. You can see the little dots of the tooth of the paper, and then it starts to get more smooth and more polished. I need to spend a little bit more time refining it so it becomes even smoother, but I'm going to go ahead and let you finish yours, and then we'll go ahead and work on the next one.